Welcome to Mid-Season, where we talk about a one-season show that was kind of mid. I'm Fadzai.
And I'm Sandile.
And we'll be continuing with our Secret Circle discussion, episode 15, Return. Ooh. And then episode 16. I will point out, Return, not to be confused with The Return, the season 2 premiere of The Vampire Diaries, named after one of the Vampire Diaries novels.
The second book, I think, maybe the third? One of them, I don't know.
But yeah, we'll be doing 15, Return, and 16, Lucky. So Return is a fun episode, I think. Let's get into it.
Wait, hold on. There's a tone to that, and I don't know why. Now I'm curious.
There's a lot of stuff that starts happening as the show nears its end, and I'm like, I'm gonna be sad all over again that it did not get renewed for a second season.
Yeah, because
there's no way all this is resolved.
It's gonna resolve. Yeah, it just all starts happening. Yeah. I should qualify the headspace I'm in right now. I've been weirdly medium ill all day, and it hasn't fully gone away, but I'm okay now. Also, I just watched these 2 episodes on 2 times speed, so if there's something I'm surprised by, it might be that I missed it, so that should be fun. I'm just in a very strange energy, and I'm choosing to embrace it, as I will embrace the chaos of these 2 episodes.
This is chaos magic wonder. So the episode opens with Cassie packing up her stuff and moving out of Diana's house. She's like, yeah, Grandma Jane is coming home tonight. She's finished her treatment. Then Charles comes in and Diana's like, hey, Jane Blake is on her way back. And Charles is like, oh, shucks, that's great news. Oh my gosh, yay.
His face. Oh my God.
Also, he got a haircut. The Elijah bangs are gone.
Mm-hmm. I like this better on him. It shows more of his face. He can't hide from his sins with this haircut.
But even Diana can see he looks shaken. And she's like, are you okay? Oh, in other news, Cassie has recently gotten a job as a barista. So Charles wishes her luck at her new job. And he's like, I'm thrilled to hear about Jane. And Cassie's like, thanks for looking after me. And I'm like, girl, if you only knew. This man didn't just brain damage your grandma. He murdered your mother in cold blood.
And also, I don't think you guys have interacted once. So I'm not sure what looking after he was doing.
But I mean, I guess in universe, she's been living in his house for weeks now.
I think they've been passing each other in the hallways. He's just been like, she's here all the time now.
That girl whose house I blew up. After Charles leaves, Diana's like, why do all the men in my life like you more than me? And Cassie's like, and then Diana's like, I am just kidding. And I was like, girl, if you say so.
That's crazy. Reflect. Therapy.
But Cassie goes home and finds the door to her house is ajar, and she goes inside doing the whole hello, who's there thing.
She says, I've called the police.
Yeah, she's like, I've already called the police. And I was like, thank you. Wiser than you've been for several episodes, quite frankly. But anyway, Jake appears and she's like, what the hell are you doing here? He's like, no, I saw an intruder from next door. So I came to check it out, but there's no one here now. Then Cassie sees some dirt the intruder must have tracked in, and Jake is like, oh no, this is another alchemical agent used by witch hunters.
Right?
It's ash mixed with salt.
I thought I misunderstood. This is a new thing, right? This is a new thing that can harm witches.
I was like, how? I mean, they don't tell us what the ash is, but I was like, so we've had iron sulfate.
Yep.
We've had that other plant that they burned.
Mandrake
what
root.
It was. Mandrake root.
Elderberry, according to Kate Mead, although we have no certainty on whether she was lying. Now, he calls it later salt ash.
Gosh.
And there's something else coming
later
in this very episode. These guys are weak in the Pokemon Venn diagram, in the web of weaknesses and strengths. These witches are all weaknesses.
But there's a circle of it around her house. Jake quickly breaks the circle and they're like, uh-oh, the witch hunters are in town and they're after Cassie, just like Isaac warned us. And I'm like, you guys have been told several times by several people that the witch hunters are coming. And yet you always act shocked when one of them shows up. I'm like,
Adam Mosley being like, we have no reason to believe they won't come back immediately. They know where we live.
And again, this is not the Vampire Diaries where our enemies need an invite to enter our home, so at least we're safe as long as we're indoors.
Right.
These people have been breaking and entering.
The fact that these people go anywhere by themselves solo, that they're not walking in at least pairs at all times, is irresponsible.
Yes, because they have no power as well. I'm like, you guys are normal humans, apart from Cassie.
Right.
Cassie will often be like, I can take care of myself. And I'm like, okay, I guess you can.
Good luck to you, girl. What am I doing if I'm Melissa? Getting cornered by a 40-year-old drug dealer? Like, what am I going to do?
I don't think he's meant to be 14.
Well, somebody should have told the casting director. I don't know.
But Jake is like, yeah, Isaac wanted the medallion and he was furious when it was destroyed. And Cassie's like, I don't get why Isaac would want the medallion. He's not a witch. He can't use it. And Jake is like, well, I'll stay and I'll protect you. And she's like, nope, I don't need a babysitter. Look, I've spelled the umbrella and it can now fire concussive bolts. So I don't need you. Bye, Jake.
So real, honestly. Very based. And yet.
And then she goes to work at the cafe where she now works. She's struggling a little bit. She hands over this set of elaborate drinks to a trio of women who are like, we haven't ordered yet. So that's the wrong table.
And this is how it feels like on your first week at work. It's just like, here you go. I did not ask for this. You're confusing me with the person in the next cubicle. Oh, right. I'll just quit. Goodbye. I'll pay you my salary's worth for this month. For wasting your time. Thanks.
But who is there to offer her serving advice but Adam, who I guess grew up behind the counter of the boathouse. And he's like, yeah, hold the tray with your non-dominant hand so that you can serve the drinks with the dominant hand. And I was like, oh, okay, that's not something I would have really thought about. I might have done that on instinct. I don't know, but okay.
Well, we're not privy to the culture. He was raised in public service, and we don't really understand the intricacies of that culture, you know?
I don't know. I'm just thinking, would my tendency would probably be to hold it with my non-dominant hand because I would need my dominant hand to do the more dexterous thing, which is handing out the drinks without
That's how I
it.
feel about strangely using a fork and knife. Even though you're supposed to use the dominant one to cut, I use the non-dominant one to cut so that the more stable one goes up to my mouth. So I don't spill everything and look like a fool. So yeah.
Oh, he also directs her to the customers who the order was actually for. And I'm like, now how is he paying more attention to your job than you,
It's
Cassie?
in his blood. Like, he was 5 years old in that boathouse, slanging plates. Okay, he has an instinct.
You only adopted the serving. I was born to it.
It is a cultural birthright of the Conan family.
But Cassie's like, yeah, there were witch hunters in my house. Also, I lied to Diana about Grandma Jane coming home. She is not on her way home. I just feel like I've imposed on the Meads for long enough.
I get that, girl. However, you have disappointed me, who was so ready to see Grandmama again. I have missed her dearly, and I need her back.
Yeah, the whole imposing thing, it makes sense, but still. Also, she's like, I want to sleep in my own bed. And I was like, have you been sleeping in Diana's bed?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
The Meads are impoverished. They don't have any spare rooms.
Her dad is a lawyer. But Adam is like, no, I don't want you to be home by yourself. I'm inviting myself over. And again, Cassie's like, I don't need protecting. But Adam flirts with her and he's like, no, actually, I'm looking for an excuse to spend time with you in an otherwise empty house. And I was like, oh, wow, we've suddenly become very forward.
We're in it. Well, we missed that they kissed is the thing, so we're in it now.
And Cassie's like, I like your style, Conant. And as Adam turns to leave, he points out that Faye and Melissa are sitting in the cafe too. Cut to Faye and Melissa. Faye, my child. Faye is super smug about Cassie being employed, I guess. She smirks and she says to Melissa, the queen bee serving me a latte on bent knees. Life is good.
Which is just incorrect. When has Cassie ever exuded that energy? When has Cassie been socially popular?
Faye is in her own show entirely.
You know what? She's causing no harm. At least she's just being funny.
In her show, Cassie is this sneaky little bitch who came in and stole all her power and then stole the love of her life, Jake, who has only ever wanted to be with her. It must be fun to see things through her eyes. Even Melissa is over it because she's like, get over it, Faye. This enmity that you have with Cassie based on your love of Jake and this idea that she's stolen him away. And then Faye's like, no, actually, I am completely over Jake. So Cassie can have him. And Melissa's like, okay, if that's true, then give Lee a chance. Because he's obviously into you.
Okay.
And Faye literally says, me, date below my station?
Crazy.
No, total power mismatch. And I was like, power mismatch because he's not a witch or because you just don't think that he's, like, of your standing?
Yeah, I guess he's not old family, which is the thing we care about in this Pacific Northwest town.
I guess.
So he's not appropriate, even though she was all over him.
He's not blonde enough, I guess. Though, then Callum comes in.
My favorite, my beloved.
He invites Faye and Melissa to this party at his place that evening, and Faye is like, no thanks, we're sticking to a caffeine buzz only these days. And Melissa's like, no, it might be fun though. And Callum's like, cool, I'll text you my address, and then he leaves.
Why does he have her phone number?
Because he's her dealer.
I hate it here.
And Melissa's like, hey, Callum's not a bad guy.
What?
And Faye says, okay, I guess you and Callum can get a 2-for-1 special in rehab then. Which I'm like, damn, all right.
She's got zingers today. She's not causing any material harm. She's just cracking wise. And honestly, the best place for Faye to be.
Cassie speaks to her grandma on the phone, and she lies that she's still staying with the Meads. I'm like, Cassie, stop this.
This phone tricking, this Bonnie season 4 business.
This is how people go missing, and then no one knows where you are because you've lied to various people that you're with the other one. But after she hangs up, she sees someone lurking outside her house, and when she goes to open the door, there's a man who introduces himself as John Blackwell.
John Blackwell, my king!
Her father.
Played by Joe Lando, who for the longest time I thought was British, an American actor. I thought he was putting on an accent for whatever reason in the 2010s. He just looks like he should be British.
But Cassie's like, proof, please?
Yeah,
and
right.
John's like, no, I know that you can sense our blood relation. I was like, okay, I guess that's
fair
fine.
enough, why not?
And then Cassie's like, oh, so does this mean you're actually alive? And I was like, well, he's standing in front of you, Cassie. I know you've been through a lot of supernatural stuff lately, but he's right there.
Because it answers the question has been asked and answered, I feel.
John tries to explain his absence, but Cassie's like, no, I'm not receptive to this. You can stay an absent father for all I care. Bye.
Very fair.
And he's like, no, I've only been absent because I couldn't let anyone know that I was alive. But I knew you were in trouble when you activated the medallion's power. And Cassie says, well, I've actually been in trouble quite a few times lately, so you're still late on that front if it was coming to save me.
Rake him over those coals, baby girl.
And she's like, please leave, because I really don't need your help. And John is like, no, you do need me. And then Adam pulls up outside, and John's like, okay, wait, actually, now I have to go, because I don't want this to happen in front of your little boyfriend. But we can talk later. Meet me at the boardwalk in an hour. And Cassie's like, you can just tell me whatever you want to tell me right now, because whatever you say to me, I'm going to
tell Adam anyway. Love that we're finally here. Because there's been some nonsense in the past with this withholding shit. She's like, no, I'm gonna tell Adam because Adam's who I tell everything now.
Now that she's over Jake, suddenly all her senses come back to her. John is like, don't tell anyone I'm here. Look, everything I've done has been to protect you from afar. And then he dips just before Adam comes in. She beats about the bush for a little bit, but she quickly tells Adam that her dad is here and wants to meet her. And Adam's like, girl, I don't know. I don't think you should do that. And Cassie's like, no, I need to speak to him and find out the truth about everything that happened, yada, yada, yada. And Adam's like, I could go with you? And Cassie's like, no, he's not going to hurt me. He's my dad. He just wants to help. Adam's like, well, John has had a lot of chances to help, so he's probably here for something else. And Cassie's like, yeah, probably. I'll find out what that is.
Same page. Love them.
Diana phones Faye, who is sitting on her bed, just painting her nails, all cool. And she's like, have you seen Melissa? We were supposed to meet up, but she's MIA. And Faye says, it's adorable how clingy you are in relationships. I mean, it worked out so well with Adam. I can see why you do the same thing to Melissa.
I swear to God.
Faye! You said she was full of zingers.
She's on fire today. I'll give her that.
I know Faye ain't talking about being clingy.
Oh.
Because your very first scene with Jake, he said you were always clingy, Faye. Ooh. And you've been chasing him ever since. So, let's not throw boulders in glass houses.
Let's not throw boulders in this fractal abode.
But Diana's like, yeah, I just want to make sure Melissa's okay. Because, she OD'd the last time we were with her.
Right.
And Faye's like, okay, Melissa is at a party with Callum. And Diana is appalled that Faye would just let Melissa go off to party with her drug dealer
who gave her the drugs she OD'd on. And Faye's like, oh yeah, I guess that might present an issue.
I'm so confused by the performance in this scene. Because only after Diana is like, aren't you freaking out? Is Faye like,
yeah, absolutely.
I was just sitting here freaking out. I mean, I'm her best friend, so of course I was freaking out. And I'm like, did it just occur to you that this might be a bad thing? Faye, where is your head?
Shit. She didn't give a shit to even consider that this might be an issue.
I'm so confused because she's been suspicious of Callum from the beginning. She's never liked that man. Well, so I don't understand why she thought this was fine until Diana was like, maybe it isn't.
I don't know. I think I mentioned briefly before that the writing of Faye sometimes makes me curious because we sacrifice some character logic for the sake of like character who is devil may care, oppositional for the sake of it, like always a problem. And it's like, guys, she's got to be in this friend group though, especially where it pertains to her actual friend who is Melissa. It feels crazy for her to be like, oh, I didn't think about the fact that she would be exposed to drugs at the drug dealer's party. I don't know what this is about.
And Diana's like, okay, we have to do something. And Faye says, totally, I was just going to say that.
I
don't
was
know what
packing
Disney
my
Channel
bags.
nonsense is going on here. What network are we on? Because this is not the
Her
CW.
nail polish is only half dry. All right.
And then Diana's like, okay, where is Callum's house? And Faye's like, I don't know.
don't know.
But I do know someone who does. So we're going to enlist Lee's help in locating Melissa.
Now, I'm not going to pretend that I had a surplus of female friends at the time the show came out. But since then, I certainly have. And I know that even if this was some random who we didn't have a precedence of behavior for, which Faye certainly does, why is Melissa not immediately on a text chain with all the information provided of where she is, who she's with, what the code word is if something goes wrong and we need an emergency call or we need an emergency ride? I know we don't have Find My Phone yet, but like, where are the precautions? You know?
I don't know what teenagers were doing in 2011. I
guess
had
it's a small
fairly
town.
smart friends who didn't go to adult drug dealers' house parties.
Yeah, what was I doing? I was reading in my room at 16, 17, so what do I know?
But they go over to Lee's place. His comatose girlfriend is just in the other room.
Oh, Ava.
And when Lee sees Diana, he's like, what, no kiss this time? And she says, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I feel like she genuinely doesn't. I think she was that high that she genuinely
She does
doesn't
not
remember
know who this man is. She's seeing him for the first time. She's like, oh yeah, you're Lee, Faye's whatever. Doesn't recognize him.
And Faye tells Lee, yeah, Melissa's gone to your drug friend's house. And he's like, you let her go to Callum's party? And she's like, yes, mommy.
Oh my God.
I don't know what Faye is on today.
I have no idea. Maybe she's the one who's high. I don't know.
Faye's like, listen, we just want Callum's address. And Lee's like, no, I'm not letting you girls go there alone. And Diana's like, oh, you think we can't handle ourselves? And then Lee says, we get some more. Lee says, no, I know you guys are witches, but voodoo is a different ball game. There's a right-hand path and a left-hand path. And apparently Callum is on the left-hand path, which makes him bad and untrustworthy. Lee calls it evil, malicious juju.
Of course Callum also practices voodoo. I love it here. We got 2 voodoo white boys in the show.
Maybe they're both Cajun.
Yeah.
Gambit's cousins from the Thieves Guild.
I got you, Cher. The Thieves Guild.
He's like, yeah, some of the people who go to Callum's parties don't come back the same. Callum uses people and he'll take from them whatever they've got. And what you girls have is something Callum will take away any way he can.
And Callum would absolutely do this. How terrible of Callum to try and take from you and use for his own means.
I'm like, Lee, what are you... Anyway, Cassie, meanwhile, meets up with Blackwell as arranged. She makes it clear she doesn't trust him. And I'm like, yes, all your brain cells are awake again. The Jake fog has cleared.
They're dancing a circle in the woods. They're hand in hand. These brain cells are moving.
It's not like with Jake, where she was like, I don't think I trust you, but I'll tell you everything before I tell anyone else in this group. Blackwell is like, no, you should trust me because I'm your father. And I was like, that's a stupid
that's not how that
reason.
works.
Like, what?
Not how that works at all. In fact, historically,
You know?
proven that sometimes the other way is safer.
Cassie brings up their family's reputation of like this evil lineage, and Blackwell is like, well, yeah, there's a lot of stories there, but the truth is bigger, and I know you know that, Cassie. And then she's like, okay, how about how you abandoned me and my mom? And then he's like, no, if anyone knew I was alive, they would have come for you and your mother in order to get to me. I was protecting you. And Cassie's like, my mother's dead. So...
Well, a lot of good that your shit did. Huh? Your absence really paid off in that department.
Yeah. And Blackwell's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I loved your mother. I knew her better than anyone. And you're exactly the daughter we always dreamed of. And then he's like, cool. Now give me the medallion. Because the spirits whose power it took, they're going to keep coming after you. I promise if you give it to me, I'll even disappear forever, if that's what you want. And Cassie's like, oh, the medallion again. Adam was right. You only came here for something other than me. And then Blackwell is like, wait, you told Adam you saw me? And she's like,
Yeah,
yes,
obviously.
because Adam is someone who I actually trust. I love her on this setting.
She's
It's-
great.
It's
She's
wonderful
killing in
to
this
be
episode.
back.
Also, Britt Robinson's performance in this episode specifically, and again, I watched it in 2 times, but I thought it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Emotionally, she's such a great actor. It's a shame we don't see her in more things.
It's a shame we didn't get several seasons of her playing this character. I think she would have done quite well. Cassie's like, I'm not giving you the medallion. She doesn't tell him that it's been destroyed yet. But she's just like, I don't need your protection. I've been doing fine without it for the last 16 years. And she storms off back to her car and immediately gets kidnapped by Eben, who was waiting for her in the backseat.
Waiting with some chloroform.
You witch hunters and your damn chloroform.
You know how boys stay cooked and ready. Oh, man. Oh, God. Black man hunting a little white girl for future crimes. It feels like I'm in a 2000s X-Men comic all of a sudden. You love to see it.
At the party at Callum's place, which is pretty big, I'm like, did you rent out this venue or is this just your home? I don't know. But Melissa becomes a little uneasy at seeing all the voodoo vibes. And Callum's like, hey, want some more devil spirit? And Melissa's like, actually, I didn't come to the party for that. And Callum asks her, what did you come for? And she says, I'll let you know when I see it. This is not going to be elaborated upon, but apparently she was done with those specific drugs. The writers, I guess, just needed her to be here for some reason.
Was she looking for a different drug?
She doesn't say. She just says, I'll let you know when I see it, and then we don't really revisit that. Because Callum is immediately like, okay, let's try a different sort of high. And he whips out 2 of his own power totems, like the one Lee gave to Faye. Melissa makes the connection, and she's like, those are more Lee's thing. And Callum's like, no, Lee is a scammer, okay? I'm the real deal. And then he instructs her to hold one of the totems and concentrate on it. And he does some mojo, which briefly transfers some of his own power through the totem he's holding across to Melissa's totem and into her body. And she experiences this head rush that she clearly enjoys. And she's like, wow, that was great. And Callum's like, okay, now switch and reciprocate. And Melissa reluctantly agrees. However, when she sends her power Callum's way, he's immediately like, well, that was stronger than I thought. You're not quite what you seem to be. Let's go to a private room and I can show you something really amazing. And I was like, no, danger, red flag, stop. This is so creepy.
Also, very season 6 Buffy, now that I think about it, with Willow and that creep.
Yes, he's so rack.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Blackwell goes to the witch shack and meets Jake, who's looking for Cassie. He tells Jake who he is and asks if something has happened to his daughter. And Jake is like, well, we have reason to suspect witch hunters are after her. And Blackwell's like, okay, where might Cassie be? And Jake's like, I guess you could check with Adam Conant at the boathouse. But he's leading him on a wild goose chase because Jake is going off on his own mission. So after Blackwell leaves to find Adam, Jake races over to the hunter's real location, but he's quickly subdued by the other hunters and is surprised to find Eben running the show. And Eben's like, you were expecting Isaac? No. That man and his soft spot for you are gone. They're getting in the way and there's work that needs to be done. So I'm here now. And Jake is like, I've come to trade for Cassie's life. And Eben's like, what could you possibly give me that would be more valuable than a witch with dark magic? And Jake is like, well, John Blackwell is alive, so I can hand him over if you agree to let Cassie go. Cassie regains consciousness after Jake has left to go get Blackwell, I guess. And Eben is nearby. Eben.
You
I keep
calling
saying it
him
the South African way. Eben. Eben is nearby mixing some concoction. He tells Cassie, your powers won't work because you're surrounded by colocasia powder. And I was like, no, what is that?
That is a plant. I looked it up from the Indian subcontinent and is now an invasive species in some wetlands in the United States. It is yet another plant that is harmful to witches.
These witches have about as many chemical weaknesses as ordinary human beings would at this point.
It's like what makes you special? Can't use powers by yourself. Everything blocks you. Like, what can you do?
And Cassie's like, this is what you hunters used to depower my father's dark magic 16 years ago. And Eben is like, yes. And I would have gotten away with it too if it hadn't been for that meddling medallion that your father used.
Meddling medallion's very good.
But he's like, but since you don't have that medallion, you're powerless. And Cassie's like, okay, why haven't you killed me yet? And Eben says, no, I've changed my plans now that I know Blackwell is still alive. Me and Blackwell go a long way back, and I didn't expect to see him again. And Cassie's like, you're afraid of him, aren't you? And then Eben drips some of that concoction into Cassie's eyes and on her tongue. It's very creepy. Her eyes briefly go black. And then he says what sounds like it could be an incantation. He was like, Sapnios Tiemlo. And I was like, spell casting?
This is
What?
the contention I brought up a while back, because you, at the first time we discussed the whole iron sulfide nonsense of the hunters, you were like, actually, this isn't science, this is alchemy. And I said, this is going to be a point of contention in future when it comes to the hunters. This is the moment I was talking about, where they reveal Eben has got some sort of juju going on here. And it feels weird to say juju now because he's the first black man to be in the witch hunter situation. So now I'm like, this is fraught. Especially when we have white voodoo kings running around.
White voodoo priests.
This is tough.
Blackwell goes to the boathouse and meets Adam, and he's asking after Cassie. Ethan quickly joins them and is like, Blackwell, you're alive? Stay away from my son, Adam. And Adam is like, no, he's just here looking for Cassie. And Ethan is like, well, Amelia would want you to stay away from Cassie as well. And then Blackwell is like, well, Amelia would want Cassie safe. And I'm like, can we stop fighting over this dead woman already? Please, let her rest.
Swinging, measuring nonsense over a woman who is long dead, murdered by another man from this group. Like, I don't care about it.
Ethan is like, get the hell out of Chance Harbor. And Blackwell's like, you know what? I know we have unfinished business, but for now, I'm going to go find my child. And he leaves. And once he's gone, Ethan says, you and Cassie should keep away from John Blackwell, Adam. Adam watches through the window just in time to see Jake arrive and collect Blackwell. And they drive off together. And Adam's like, okay, phoning Diana. We're at that part of the crisis where we need Diana Mead.
Calling my smartest, most rational friend who will be able to solve the problem.
Back at the party, the drug party, Callum has led Melissa to this private room. He locks the door behind them, and she's immediately like, okay, this is getting a little weird. I want to leave. And Callum's like, no, you're clearly a witch. I felt that power. Like, it's way more than people usually transfer when they're doing this totem thingy. And Melissa's like, what? No, you're high. Let me go. She tries to leave and he blocks her way. And then she's like, okay, if I really am as powerful as you believe, maybe you shouldn't be testing me? And he's like, yeah, all right. And he steps aside and she leaves.
Smart.
She quickly runs into Faye and she's like, yeah, Callum locked me in a room and I just want to leave now. And Faye's like, okay, cool. We're just going to find Diana and Lee and then we can go. And Melissa's like, you're here with Lee? He's the same as Callum, girl. And Faye's like, no. Lee came here to help us. And Melissa's like, Lee was using a totem? Callum was using a totem. And I found out that the totems transfer energy. They don't strengthen your own power. They draw power out of another person into you. And Faye's like, oh.
Oh. Well then.
And then Diana shows up and is like, okay, duty calls. Adam says Cassie's in trouble. And then Lee rejoins and Faye's like, no. I know about your totem scam. Go away. And he's like, what? Where did you hear that from? From Callum? No. The totem's usage varies depending on what spell you're doing. So
like,
whatever you've heard, it's not what you think.
What?
He's a fast liar. I'll give him that.
You're really quick on it.
And Faye's like, I can't believe I trusted you. And she leaves with her friends. Jake and Blackwell meet Eben and the hunters in the woods. Eben has Cassie. And Jake's like, okay, let's make the exchange, revealing his betrayal to Blackwell. And then Eben's like, actually, no, I want you, Jake, in exchange for Cassie. So
double betrayed.
Blackwell, you can take Cassie and leave.
Double betrayed,
I want
bitch.
Jake because we have accounts to settle.
Sorry, I love to see him lose. It is funny and embarrassing.
But Jake is like, okay, you know what? In exchange for Cassie's life, because she's the only reason that I ever act good in this show, I will agree to let myself be handed over to my enemies.
I don't think he had much of a choice, but okay. I think you can fight his way out of that one. They forget he has solo magic. Like, for the last couple of episodes, it's not happened. So I'm just, that's also very curious to me.
But all of a sudden, I think they remember because Eben shackles him in iron to depower him. Another weakness.
Right.
Apparently just ordinary iron also weakens them. So they're fairies too.
So you don't need the sulfide. You don't need the sulfur bonding. It's just iron. It's enough.
Just ordinary iron. I guess it was harder to put pure iron in a circle around them. So they were like, we had iron sulfide lying around in powder form.
Okay.
So we used that.
What was that boat built out of too? Was that out of Mandrake or a different one?
Oh, yeah. That was a different wood.
Because that was the wood that they used to make the ash that they had the current circle in, plus iron sulfide. Oh, yeah. Well, I think
the boat might have been Ashwood or something.
Ashwood.
I can't remember.
That's what it is.
So many
yes.
substances, so many weaknesses. But Blackwell and Cassie leave, and then Jake is like, why are you not going to kill Blackwell anymore? And Eben's like, oh, no, I don't have to. Cassie's going to do it for me.
So before Charles and Dawn Chamberlain could execute, Eben said Cassie will take care of it without even knowing it.
Back at the voodoo party, Lee confronts Callum, and Callum reveals that he knows Faye and her friends are witches, and he suspects this is why Lee is so interested in Faye. And Lee becomes violently protective of Faye, and he warns Callum to stay away from Faye and the others. And Callum's like, no, I know you're just using her for something.
Right.
That's what we both do, because we're both bad guys.
The idea that Lee and Callum are differentiable is laughable to me, and I don't care about the storyline. They are exactly the same man.
And Lee is like, no, I don't like seeing this dark reflection of who I am. And he leaves the party.
Oh, shame. Glad you came to your senses, I guess. When you got caught. All right.
As Cassie and her dad walk through the woods, Cassie loses control of her actions. She snaps a tree branch and wraps it in vines, using it as a magic implement to attack Blackwell with a spell.
Sick as hell.
She causes him to double over in pain, and she draws a circle on the ground around him. And he's like, oh no, you've been spelled with linden, a hypnotic root. At least that one's not a witch weakness.
Wait.
That just seems to be a magical tool.
It's not another plant.
It is a plant, but it's not specifically a witch weakness.
Okay.
I guess it's just an ingredient to
For
this
the spell.
hypnotic spell.
Okay. We get away on a technicality.
So Cassie's like, stop me with your own magic, Dad. And Blackwell's like, actually, I don't have magic anymore. You have to fight against the hypnosis. You're stronger than you think. And Cassie's like, I can't.
I'm not.
Can't you like push me down or knock me over or something? And he's like, no, I won't hurt you. And I was like, sir, this is not the time.
No, you're my daughter and I'll never lay a hand on you. I'd be like, backhand that little teenager. This shit is crazy. We're about to die.
So then she causes a circle of fire to erupt around her.
It's very cool. I was like, not the Silas psychic programming, but also, thank God, some witchcraft, finally.
Finally. Elsewhere in the woods, Eben tells Jake that his usefulness has come to an end. And Jake is like, I brought you Blackwell. We had a deal.
Oh.
And Eben is like, your father said nearly the same thing to me before I slit his throat. But just before Eben can kill Jake, the other members of the circle arrive and telekinetically fling him backwards into a tree. The only time they ever fling someone is when there's like at least 4 of them. It's very dull. He gets impaled on a protruding branch, and I was like, injury looks lethal. Guess he's done for.
Damn.
And Jake is like, oh, Adam, was that you? And Adam's like, it was all of us. You're welcome. And he goes to unshackle Jake. And then he's like, girls, a little help? And the girls all say, lock, unlock. And the shackles come loose. My favorite
little guitar riff in
spell.
the background as they do their iconic spell.
This is really their Fesmatos Incendia.
Exactly. They even
their
look at
main
each
spell.
other with like a knowing look and they go, lock, unlock.
It's
I
their
love
crutch phrase. And then Faye's like, Jake, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, thank you. Wait, where the heck did Eben go? He was just impaled in a tree. How did he walk that off? The man has disappeared.
I'm built different. I'm too tough. I walked it off.
And the group is like, listen, we don't have time to figure out how Eben just did that. We gotta go help Cassie. So they find Cassie. She explains to them she's not in control. And Diana's like, okay, we have to break Cassie's connection to the spell. Someone, I'm not sure if it's Jake or Adam, because like it's a distant shot and I can just hear a male voice. They're like, follow my lead. And they start chanting, by our power, restore her will. Such boring spells. But the spell doesn't work at first. And I was gonna be like, yeah, because that's a lame-ass incantation.
Not even a pentameter, not a rhyme.
The gang realizes Cassie needs to join in so that they have the full power of the circle. And when Cassie chants along with them, she's able to break free of her hypnosis. Afterwards, the circle sons, Cassie and Jake, are at the witch clubhouse discussing John Blackwell. And Faye's like, wasn't Blackwell supposed to be like really, really evil? And Diana's like, well, he didn't hurt Cassie even when she was made to attack him. So, I mean, there's that. And Adam was like, hey, I just hope we did the right thing saving Blackwell, because when my own father saw him earlier tonight, he looked terrified. Cassie and John Blackwell discuss her friend saving him. And he's like, well, you know, they were only there for you, not me. And I'm like, well, yeah, duh.
Well, yeah, they don't know who you are. And also, we've heard only bad things about you.
And Cassie asked, how did you lose your magic? I had not realized that Blackwell wasn't a part of the circle.
Right.
Because going forward, they'll refer to him as if he was not a part of the circle. So I'm like, so who was the 12th member?
He said when they stripped your mother's circle of their magic, it somehow affected me too, distinctly placing him separate from them. So does that mean all the other spouses were also separate?
Maybe. I don't know.
Why didn't they have their own circles?
You marry into a circle.
I guess so? What determines that? Because it's not gender specific, clearly. It's not a patriarchal thing. It's not a matriarchal thing either.
I don't know. So many questions. This is the same network that brought us When a Werewolf is Wounded by Silver, It Heals.
It heals.
So sometimes there is no answer.
I need someone to tell me, like I'm 5, how these 12 parents fit into what circle if there was even more than one. Please, draw me a map.
The answer, as our dear likes to say, is yes.
Yeah. Yes. Fair. Fair.
What Blackwell says is the elders took away that generation's magic and it affected me. But frankly, I wish they'd taken away my magic sooner because dark magic took everything I ever cared about from me. You and your mother. And he's like, I know no one will believe that I've changed, but I'm not the man I used to be. I just want to keep you safe. And Cassie's like, okay, well, I can't give you the medallion because I destroyed it. So I guess you have no reason to stay now. And Blackwell is like, no, I have every reason to stay because you can't protect yourself. Then they're like, how was Eben able to spell me if he's not a witch? And then John is like, well, I know him and I know he's not a witch. That much I know for sure. And Cassie's like, okay, well, then he must have another witch working with him, like Isaac had Jake. And Blackwell says, well, I guess this is a mystery I'm going to stick around for a while to help you solve. I'll be staying in Chance Harbor. Faye comes home and she finds Lee has climbed through her bedroom window and is just there in her house. She's like, what the hell? Get out. And he's like, I came in through the window. And she's like, and now you can go out the window.
Right. Real.
And he's like, listen, I would never do anything to hurt you. And she's like, okay, I don't believe you. And he's like, okay, fine. Give me the totem. And she hands it over and he snaps it in half to prove that he's serious. And he's
Again,
like, I'll find you another way to get your power.
Only doing this because he got caught. If nobody found out, none of this would be happening. So it means nothing to me.
I guess he's still trying to claim that, no, the totem didn't do what you thought it would. But just so that there's no doubts, I'll destroy it anyway. So now you know nothing untoward is happening. Lies upon lies. However, it works because the two of them finally kiss.
Right.
So that's a thing now.
Yeah. All the men stay winning in this show, so what am I going to say?
Meanwhile, back at Lee's place, his comatose girlfriend, Eva, wakes up. The impeccable timing.
Yeah. Almost narrative, some might say. Dramatic.
Jake gets a visit from Blackwell. Despite Blackwell not being pleased that Jake set him up for betrayal earlier that night, he's like, I'm glad you chose to save Cassie's life. You and I should actually work together to keep Cassie safe, because tonight was only the beginning. At the end of the episode, Cassie goes to see Adam at the closed boathouse, and they sit together in the dark and embrace. And I'm like, aw, I guess you're officially a couple now, even though you haven't told Diana yet.
That's the one I'm like, oh, has Diana been made aware of this? Curious to see how that goes down. I do think they're cute, though. I think they took way too long to rev this engine, but, I like their vibe.
It was the Jake detour, quite frankly.
It really was. My God.
I guess they were like, she can't get with Adam immediately after his relationship with Diana ends. Otherwise, she's a homewrecker.
Yeah. And you know what?
Unintentionally or otherwise.
Fair. But, like, the thing is, as we go into the next episode, to some extent, we're still acting like the Jake detour is ongoing. And I just don't care for that. I really don't.
Episode 16, Lucky. I love that song by Jason Mraz and Colby Calais.
Do you hear me? I'm talking to you. Across the waters, across the deep. I just brought that song up to somebody last week, actually. That's kind of funny. Yeah.
I discovered it through Glee when Sam and Quinn covered it. I think right near the beginning of season 2 was the duet episode. Yeah, it was very cute.
I discovered it because it came out the year we famously, I say famously as if any of our listeners know this, the year we famously, my family, our TV broke during Christmas time, and we didn't have a TV for 7 months because we couldn't afford a new one, so we just listened to the radio the entire time. And that was one of the biggest songs at the time.
Okay. It's a beautiful song. Episode 16, Dawn Chamberlain is back in the story. I love her. We'll get to her later in this episode, but for now, she barges into Faye's room to tell her that she needs to be on her best behavior for the casino-themed fundraiser event that evening. And I was like, what is this Mystic Falls Town Council nonsense? You guys are constantly having functions in this small fishing town.
Ever a fundraiser.
And none of them are fishing themed. Like...
in this boat crazy town. It's crazy. They did have the maritime one. They had a maritime fundraiser at some point. Okay. And that's the closest we'll get. But I want to see fish and fishing poles and fishing hooks. I want to see the decor.
You know?
Suit the vibe.
I mean, there was a prawn festival in this town that I went to years ago when I was in university. And that was fun. Faye suggests to her mother that she should bring a date so she has someone else to fixate on other than her daughter.
Oh.
And Dawn says, I'll be just fine, thank you. And Faye says, obviously Mr. Mead isn't doing it for you. And then she's like, hey, you should consider Cassie's dad instead.
Now,
Dawn Chamberlain. The way that Faye says this is like, why does it seem like she knows more than her character should know at this
it's
point?
half that, right? It's half the implication that, like, did she aware Dawn and John Blackwell had a thing? But also it's like, is this information we're just dropping? Like, is John publicly back in town?
I don't, yeah.
Because the Circle know, but that's the Circle.
Also, because they believe their parents don't know as much as them at this point.
Right.
It's very strange. But Dawn is utterly blown away by this news. And Faye's like, haven't you heard? He's back from the dead. Cassie fixes her father a cup of coffee while they talk. And she's like, Black, I figured the darker the better. And I was like, oh, because of the dark magic?
We're making jokes. We're having family bits.
John suggests that he stay at the Blake house while he's in town. And Cassie's like, no, I don't think my grandmother would like that. And then she's like, did you love my mother? And Blackwell's like, I did. And Cassie's like, okay, why did my mother never mention you? And Blackwell's like, I hurt her because the dark magic changed me. And Cassie says, I have dark magic, and I haven't changed because of it. And Blackwell is like, well, it's only a matter of time. Dark magic is not something you can control. And Cassie says, maybe you, but I can. And she shows him that she can reshape her coffee mug with her mind.
Wild.
And Blackwell's like, no, stop. He gets freaked out by her bending the cup like it's a Dark Phoenix scene from X-Men 3. And she's like, I was in control. I meant to do that. And he's like, no, dark magic isn't a parlor trick. The more you use it, the more it will take you over. And Cassie's like, no, I use my magic to help people and protect my circle. But Blackwell tells her, I thought I could do the same thing. But the dark magic made me vengeful and destructive, and I lost the very people I was trying to protect.
Damn.
So, once this magic gets a hold of you, it is impossible to break free. And Cassie's like, well, you don't know me very well. And she storms off. And he leaves.
How do we feel about the John Blackwell casting, by the way?
Fine, I guess. He doesn't seem too ominous, but the story is not yet painting him as an outright villain. It's like he's coming and he's like, no, what you think you know isn't the truth. So I'm like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah, that's what I like about him, is that, like, they could have, funny enough, Gail Harold, who plays the bastard man Charles Meade, is who you cast in this role.
Yeah.
If you wanted someone to be immediately ominous and clearly villainous. They stuck to the same combo of, like, dark hair, blue eyes, because it's a little bit striking, a little bit unsettling, but there's a warmth to him that just feels like he just kind of looks like a dad. He looks like a tired dad who's trying to do his best. And you mentioned Valentine earlier before we started recording, but I thought the casting of Alan Van Sprang in the TV series Shadowhunters was a similar kind of vibe, where it's like there's a warmth in this man's face that is just, like, tricksy enough that if and when a turn needs to happen, they could do it. But for now, they give off a warmth that you can trust.
We could have gone down the Julian McMahon road.
Precisely.
But we didn't.
Precisely. Men who look evil. What's the thing we said? Men who are handsome in an evil way.
Julian McMahon coming back for seconds, as we say. Oh, no, it was double dipping.
Double dipping
in a Marvel project, because he's in the Runaways Hulu series, playing one of the protagonist's biological fathers, who shows up at the end of the first season. Is like, ta-ha, it's me, bio dad, and I'm evil. And I was like, of course it's you, Julian. Of course it's you.
They're not casting you as a protagonist, Julian McMahon. Please. Cole Turner of Charmed. I've been fooled by lesser tricks.
Probably the closest to being a protagonist that he's ever been, honestly,
right.
Playing Cole.
Right, because at least he's a half demon there with some complex backstory.
But as soon as Blackwell leaves the Blake house, he runs into Jake, who was lurking outside. And instead of being like, well, this is creepy, why are you stalking my child? He's like, you watch over Cassie, don't you? And Jake is like, mm-hmm. Okay. And he's like, good. You keep doing that.
Because Blackwell's obviously up to something. But also, Jake Armstrong is always so desperate for a daddy. Mm-hmm. And this is a dangerous confirmation. Isaac's been gone for like 3 episodes tops, and he is scrambling for some sort of paternal energy to tell him what to do.
I always wanted a father.
God.
So the circle meets in a cafe and they discuss Blackwell. And Faye is like, the fact that Blackwell stayed away from Cassie and her mom for 16 years makes him sound like the kind of man who has a secret second family. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, Imagine there's like an entire other Cassie running around somewhere. Oh, Jake and Adam, then you could both have one.
This is the Faye I like. She's back, ladies and gents.
Gosh. And you know what? They ignore her and they move on with the conversation.
Exactly.
Melissa's like, okay, if Blackwell was so powerful, why didn't he defend himself from the witch hunters? And Cassie's like, oh no, he doesn't have magic anymore. And then Jake is like, well, Eben seems unstoppable anyway, since he pulled himself off being impaled on a branch and just disappeared into the night.
Right, lest we forget.
Then Adam, siphoning off of some of Faye's catty energy, is like, well, Jake, since you're the one who's still making deals with witch hunters, maybe you can tell us how it is that Eben has powers in the first place.
So good.
Jake is like, I don't know, I was too busy almost being killed by the hunters to ask.
Aww.
And then Faye says, can you boys just arm wrestle already? Again, she's ignored.
She's ignored. She cracks a zinger. It's funny and biting, and everyone ignores her. This is our best case scenario for Faye Chamberlain.
She's ignored again, and Diana's like, well, I think Cassie's lucky because we've all wished that we could get back the parent we lost. And Faye's like, well, not if that parent is the devil on his days off. And then everyone glares at her, and she's like, oh, okay, I guess my freebies are up. Okay,
all right, guys.
I'm gonna go.
My set's over. I'll be back tomorrow night.
You've been a wonderful audience, guys. I gotta go get a date for tonight's function. She gets one last dig in because she's like, I've got to get a date lest I end up pulling a Diana.
Crazy.
And I was like, wow.
Crazy.
Okay.
Especially because Diana's not the only single person in this circle. At least 4 of y'all are single. This is rude.
Wow. If I were Diana, I would have been like, what does pulling a me look like? Being able to be independent post the end of a relationship? Oh, wait,
right.
No, you weren't in a relationship. You were heartbroken by a man who didn't want you.
Being able to have men chase after me instead of the other way around. Oh, wait, you don't know what that looks like. Aww.
But Diana and Melissa are like, okay, we're gonna leave to go set up for the fundraiser. And then Jake also leaves, but before he does, he's like, even without magic, Blackwell can help us since he knows so much about the hunters. And then Cassie tells Adam that, yeah, Jake is probably right, but I don't trust my father enough to ask for his help. And I'm like, yes. She still doesn't trust him.
Yes.
I love this.
It is the more time she spends with Adam, I swear to God, he is such a positive influence in terms of like, what do you say and who do you trust? And what do you look for? Because Adam is the most observant of them. In that previous episode, when she finally tells him that her father was here, it's because Adam's like, something's wrong. The energy's off here. Are you okay? And that's when she's like, my father was just here. Mm-hmm. It's rubbing off.
And you know what? Diana did tell us Adam was her guiding light. Mm-hmm. So I guess the same is true for all the girls that he's romantically linked to.
He's a solid true north.
Cassie heads back to work. But before she does, she is invited to the fundraiser by Adam. He's like, yeah, an official date. And she's like, oh, like an official out in public, everyone knows about us date? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, okay, hell yes. And then she kisses him. And I'm like, all right.
Ooh,
we're in it now.
I'm getting used to it. I'm liking it.
Now to bring your mood down. Lee is with his recently awakened girlfriend, Ava.
Lord. You know what? Actually, in this episode, it's a bit juicy. I do kind of like what goes on here, personally. Okay. But anyway.
She's incredibly grateful to him for staying by her side and reviving her. And she's like, oh my gosh, you stuck by me and you didn't give up on me. That's amazing. I love you so much. I'm never, ever going to leave you again. And he's like, okay, you should probably contact your family. And she's like, no, they gave up on me. They just left me here. You're the only family that I need now, Lee. And he's like, okay. And they hug and he looks very uneasy.
I love a convenient, crazy ex-girlfriend to make the sleazeball look normal. I love that.
So while Diana and Melissa are setting up for the party, they meet a new boy with an Aussie accent named Grant.
Grant. I'd forgotten about Diana's Australian fling. Also, enough of these grown men chasing after teenage girls, please. I'm sick of it.
He's one of those rich white boys who just travels the world because he's got a strong passport, as they say, and obviously lots of funds. Diana heads out and Melissa goes with her and she's like, why didn't you jump at the boy's obvious flirting? And Diana's like, no, I don't think I should date a normal guy because I'd spend the whole relationship waiting until that conversation we have to have about me being a witch. So Grant follows after them and he's like, oh, I see you carrying these heavy boxes. Do you want some help? And Diana's like, no,
Do an
we're
Aussie
good.
accent. You've got direct inherited abilities.
It comes and goes. He's like, you guys having a party? And then Diana's like, we are. And Melissa's like, it's a fundraiser. All are welcome. You should come because I'm playing matchmaker. And Grant is like, well, actually, I'm leaving to go to Prince Williamstown tonight. But you guys have fun. And I'm going to offer you some advice because of the many things I know, like champagne from earlier. I also know about playing cards. And when you're doing blackjack, always split eights. I don't know what that means because I don't play cards, but I'm going to assume he's right.
I know what he was talking about. I was too giggly over you doing that accent. I don't know why. Blackjack. Oh, that tickled me.
It could be better. I'm out of practice.
No, it's brilliant to me. And I watched The Neighbors.
Cassie goes to the witch shack and finds her father frantically digging around, searching for something. He doesn't see her, but she's like, I knew it.
I
Shady.
thought so.
And she immediately goes to Adam. And she's like, I saw my dad scratching around for something. He was obviously looking for a hiding spot for something. And then Adam's like, okay, where was he looking exactly? And she's like, inside this like post pillar thing in one of the rooms. And Adam's like, I know what it is.
I love that Adam has an encyclopedic knowledge of everything that's in this house. It's very cool to me. Because he knew where that symbol was on the house. He knew what was in the basement. He just seems to really have a handle on what's going on over there. I respect it.
He was dating Diana. You know, she also had a lock on everything. It was rubbing
They were a
off
good
on
pair.
him.
It's a shame they collapsed and burned.
When you're dating the smart kid in school and your grades improve, it's like, oh, wow. I say that like I have an experience. I did not date anyone in school.
I did not date anyone in school either. I'm like, yeah, I know what that is like.
I peered across into an alternate timeline where I was, more charismatic / charming / attractive as a teenager, and I managed to get a date.
I am happy to be, at this age, the most charismatic and attractive I have been. I think things worked out well, probably.
That's fair. Peaking in high school is not fun. I assume.
I assume. Wouldn't know nothing about that.
Wouldn't know that. Not me. This scene is hilarious. Faye goes to see Lee and invite him to be her date to the fundraiser. Lee was not expecting her, so he's entirely caught off guard. And then she sees Ava's shoes lying on the floor, and she's like,
I know those aren't mine because I would never be caught dead in a kitten heel. More of a stiletto girl myself. All right, bitch. Some of us need to walk, okay? Some of us favor form over function. Function over... Wait, hold on. Some of us favor substance over style. That's what I mean to say.
Lee's like, I can explain that. She's like, no, I know what's going on. I'm not stupid. These are a woman's shoes. You're not a woman. There's obviously a woman who was here. And he's like, no, they were my girlfriend Ava's shoes. And she's like, oh, is that all? Is there a shrine to her somewhere in here?
I thought he was going to be like, I do drag on weekends.
And then she picks them up and tosses them in the trash.
Crazy to do, because the thing is, the vibe, though a lie it may be, is that Ava died, right? Like, it feels like she died from an overdose of this devil spirit drug, and she just tosses these shit in the bin.
She's like, I'm gonna skip ahead to the part where you have your catharsis and there's closure and you throw the shoes away because I have my own plans for tonight. And they require you to be single and over this girl. She tells Lee, you can't live in the past, especially when your future, i.e. me, looks so good. And she invites him to the fundraiser, and he's like, sorry, I can't. And she's literally like, excuse me? like she's never been rejected in her life. And I was like, girl, I know you. And Lee's like, no, I have plans I can't get out of. And Faye gets offended and tells Lee, you know what? You and your plans can have a lovely evening. Ooh. And she leaves. And I guess in her mind, she lowered her standards to give him a chance. And then he rejected her.
Right, because he's below her station, if you'll remember. And then for him to tell her no? Unthinkable. Someone tells her later, Faye Chamberlain taking no for an answer. And I was like, well, that's I don't know if that's the takeaway we want from here about romantic pursuits. I understand the roles are reversed and buttered and baked at 400 here, but it still feels weird to say that. But I digress.
Adam and Cassie meet up in the Armstrong house. They're just in Jake's room, uninvited. Jake is not there. And Cassie's like, okay, we need to be quick so we don't get caught. And Adam's like, well, if Jake finds us, you can just vaporize him with your dark magic.
So true.
And he shows her this magical amulet called a sway.
Another
that he
thing.
and Nick, and I do mean Nick this time, he and Nick discovered in the witch shack a while back. They brought it to the Armstrong house to hide it because a sway is used to steal a witch's power. And Adam's like, well, your father was probably using it to steal power from other witches, like he did with the medallion and the Nadaros coven. And Cassie's like, guess I'll go find out when I ask him. And Adam's like, whoa,
Slow
wait,
down.
what? She's like, give me the sway. And he says, I don't think you should be alone with your dad if he's been stealing power, especially, with the amulet that is used to steal power.
And your great power that is so stealable.
And Cassie's like, I need to find out why Blackwell wanted this. And besides, I'll be the one holding the sway. So she's very confident in this era. I'll give her that. Meanwhile, Melissa is chilling with Faye and Diana. And in this episode, I hate to see it, but she's relegated to, I give all the white people relationship advice. Yeah. She does it for the girlies. She'll even do it for Jake towards the end of the episode. It's very tiring.
The thing is, that's her this episode, and I realized watching this episode that in the previous episode, her sole purpose was to deliver plot twisting lore. She was there to get that totem and to leave, because we were like, if she doesn't want the devil spirit, why is she at this party? I'll know it when I see it. It was the totem, so she could tell Faye the totem stealing your power.
She's low-key psychic. And she was led there by her visions. She didn't quite know.
God, I wish. And now here she is mammying this episode.
Gosh. But Faye is like, I don't understand why Lee wouldn't give me the time of day when, the last time after Callum's voodoo party, he could barely keep his hands off me. Melissa's like, well, maybe you're losing your touch. But meanwhile, Diana here is turning away the cute Aussie boy who's clearly interested in her. And Diana's like, Melissa, Grant said he was literally leaving Chance Harbor tonight. And Melissa claims, yeah, but he wouldn't be leaving if you would have so much as flashed him a smile. And I was like, not that you should smile more. It'd be your own sisters.
Not your girls reinforcing patriarchal ideals. Also, what if he was leaving because of his job? Now he's gonna stay because, again, a high school girl is kind of into him? I've got a boat to sail or whatever.
He will later reveal that he's traveled quite a lot. I'm like, I'm just going to have to decide for my own peace of mind that you started school a year early. Australians finish grade 12 at the age of 17. So I'm going to decide you finished at the age of 16.
Who's making you decide this? It's so much more fun to call it like it is.
For my own peace of mind, I have to.
I don't want peace. I want problems always.
Melissa's like, I have to go because the plot is pulling me away to do things that you'll never see. But Diana, go get your man. And Faye, don't take no for an answer. And then she dips. And Faye's like, when did she become so insightful? We literally had to save her from a voodoo drug pusher last week. And then Diana's like, actually, she saved herself.
She's a strong, independent character with no plot. Thank you very much.
I just thought of, I always forget her name, fake Eleanor.
Vicky from The Good Place.
I thought of Vicky being like, I am a strong, independent snake demon, wearing the suit skin of a strong, independent woman.
Delightful. Absolutely delightful, that show.
Cassie confronts her father and wastes no time. She's like, whose magic are you trying to steal? Mine? The circles? She just dives into it.
Because at this point, we're tired. It's episode 16 and people have been on our ass nonstop. I won't take it.
And Blackwell is like, I'm not trying to steal anyone's magic. And she's like, okay, well, why are you sneaking around looking for an object that is used to take power from witches? Yeah, I got you. I got you on candid camera.
Kids, Candid Camera was an old TV show from the 90s.
And Blackwell is like, actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. A sway can also be used to temporarily transfer a witch's power to a mortal human. That's how Eben had enough power to subdue me and kill the other witches in that boat fire 16 years ago. However, such a spell can only be done by a witch. So he believes that someone in Amelia's circle must have betrayed them, and he wants the sway so he can find out who it is. When he tells Cassie that it must have been someone who was on the boat that day, she remembers seeing Ethan Conant in Jake's memory, but she doesn't say anything. But Blackwell reads her face and is like, you know something. Tell me what it is. And Cassie's like, so that you can get revenge, hurt somebody? And Blackwell is like, no, I want to help you because Eben has power again, and whoever empowered him back in the day is probably doing it again now. Please give me the sway. And Cassie's like, no, now you can leave.
She points at the door with the sway. I thought that was so There's the door, bitch.
Faye goes over to Lee. I love this scene too. Faye goes over to Lee to try and convince him again to be her date. She runs into the very conscious Ava. Ava assumes Faye's a customer, and she's like, "Oh, you're looking for Lee? He's not here, but I can help you with whatever you need.
I know his inventory
pretty
very well."
Which I was like, you've been in a coma for months. That can't be true. How would you know the inventory well?
She doesn't understand the concept of FIFO, girl. It's first in, first out. The shit you remember is long gone.
I do like that Ava is not naive and very quickly realizes what's up, even before Lee arrives. Because Faye is like, are you an employee? And then she walks up to her slowly and she's like, no, I'm his girlfriend, Ava. And I was like, oh, she knows. She knows what's up.
A lot of girl code happening, floating about the space subtextually.
Faye is floored, and then Lee himself comes in and pretends he thinks she's a customer too. He kisses Ava and is like, were you looking for something in particular, Faye? Miss Chamberlain? And Faye's like, I was, but I've changed my mind.
I swear to God.
And she walks out. And then Ava's like, I get the feeling that wasn't Faye's first time here. And Lee says, no, she and her friends found my website. And I think she has a crush on me. Unrequited crush on me.
Choke, dead, revive, like your little girlfriend just revived, and then die again. My God.
Grant the Aussie shows up at the fundraiser and whips out a fat wad of cash to buy some poker chips or blackjack chips or whatever, I guess, to gamble with. It's casino themed for some reason, even though it's being held at a school and managed by students. Is this legal?
The scruples in this town are really questionable. I, as the governor of the school board, would be mildly concerned.
Adam is possibly serving alcohol and he just turned 17.
I would have questions. Where's the superintendent or whatever they call it?
And Diana's like, oh, what happened to your plans to head to Prince Williamstown? And Grant is like, it'll still be there tomorrow.
Where is Prince Williamstown?
And then Diana's like, well, I happen to also know a thing or two about poker. Your tip about splitting eights doesn't work when the dealer is holding a 10. Again, these are just quotes. I don't know what any of this means. After Grant walks away, Melissa comes up, summoned back by the spirit of the mammy, I guess, to give advice.
Yeah, she heard the call of Aunt Jemima and came running.
And she's like, did Grant just pay with a handful of hundreds? Rich? ? Grant had also been discussing books and what the fundraiser was for, because Diana was like, it's to raise stuff for the school, fix the gymnasium, new books in the library. And it's like, oh, well, books are my second favorite thing. So obviously I'll help. Melissa's like, oh, he likes books, romance novels, ? It's cute, but I'm like, does this go anywhere? Because he's leaving town after this episode.
I couldn't tell you what on earth was happening here. Also, I can't find a Prince Williamstown. They might be saying Prince William Sound.
Oh, Prince William Sound.
Which is a sound of the Gulf of Alaska on the south coast of the United States of Alaska.
That makes more sense. That's fair. Sorry, here, those of us who live in former British colonies, we have lots of towns and cities named after various members of the royal family.
Is that in our very own Eastern Cape, there was one King Williamstown, now called Konle. Is that how you'd say that?
I didn't know the name had changed.
It's in Xhosa, which is kind of like Zulu, but very slightly different.
Ah, okay. Yes, I do know of King Williamstown. We also have a Queenstown. There's a Queenstown in Australia as well, but that is like a city.
Well, there's a Queensland in Australia too.
A lot of colonial history. Isn't it fun?
Isn't it great?
Cassie speaks to Adam and tells him Blackwell's tale about the previous generation's circle having a traitor who empowered Eben so he could kill Blackwell. And she's like, yeah, it was someone who was on the boat that day. ... And Adam is like, oh, so you think it's my dad? All right. Offended. And Cassie's like, well, I saw your dad acting shady in Jake's memory. He was rushing off the boat. Eben was not far behind him.
He was wearing a cap over his head, which is shorthand for suspicious, as we all know.
He seemed to know something was about to go down. Adam is like, oh, wow. I cannot believe this. 2 seconds with your father, your shady father, and you're ready to point the finger at mine. And Cassie's like, I'm just stating the evidence. Why are you so unwilling to believe that my father might be right? And he's like, oh, why are you so willing to believe that my father's shady? Like this switch up happened real quick. And I was like, our first fight already?
First fight.
Oh no.
Dad trauma. No, it's your family. No, it's your fault. And what does she do the moment there's a single ounce of trouble in paradise? She goes running to Jake Armstrong. She pissed me off.
Yep.
Pissed me off in this moment.
She goes to Jake, although she does go to Jake to try and find something that might remove the incriminating vibe that is now looming over Ethan, because she goes to Jake
from reliable narrator Jake, who could barely remember the memory to begin with because he was 4 and needed help diving through it.
She's like, is there anything you could have missed that maybe makes Mr. Conant not look shady? And Jake is like, oh, you'd like that. Why? Because it's Adam's dad? I think he's guilty AF and you need to accept that. Sorry for Adam. Sucks to be him, I guess.
Bold.
And then she's like, and I must rely on this from a memory that you couldn't even recall.
Right. Right. And he says, sorry, I can't help you hide the fact that, oh, he's a traitor just like his dad was a traitor. Bold of Jake Armstrong to talk about traitors regarding Adam and Ethan Conant when his own family has consistently sold their circles out to witch hunters. I can't fathom the stones on this man. I really can't.
Also, I'm like, why are you pointing the finger at Adam? Bold of you to now make Adam the problem.
Right.
It's one thing to point it at Ethan, but Adam is now being caught in the crossfire, Jake?
Let's check the tally on who has actually betrayed people to witch hunters. Oh, Jake Armstrong, Jake Armstrong, Jake Armstrong, Papa Armstrong. I'm seeing a certain surname on this list, and I don't think it's Conant so far.
Speaking of running to people, as soon as this confrontation is done, Jake calls Blackwell.
This man.
So Adam confronts his father and he's like, can you just tell me the truth about what happened between you and John Blackwell? Because whatever it is, it's now affecting my relationship with Cassie. You know, your favorite thing.
Right. That thing you wanted this whole
about
time.
my life. And Ethan is like, I'm not going to do that. Just don't let the past spoil what the two of you have. Cassie is worth fighting for. And Adam's like, yeah, fighting being the operative word. And then Ethan, acting as though he can't hear what Adam is saying, is just like, I really hope you come to the fundraiser tonight. Bye.
God, Ethan Conant. And I, again, have to say, looking so good these days. He's all dressed up. He's glowing, man. That health will bring you back. Let me tell you.
At the fundraiser, Lee shows up to give his excuses to Faye. Faye is like, when you tell me that you have an ex-girlfriend, I expect that to mean that she is out of your life now. You told me she OD'd on devil's crack.
Right?
That's what she calls it. She calls it devil's crack.
Jesus Christ.
And Lee's like, yeah, I said it destroyed her. She did OD. I didn't say she died, though. She recovered.
Well, I'm sorry that I misunderstood your ambiguous phrasing.
But he makes it clear that he has fallen for Faye in the interim, but just couldn't bring himself to break up with Ava because he was worried about her fragility. And Faye's like, you're confusing me for one of those girls, those sad girls who will wait around for a guy to choose her.
Well,
and I was like, now Faye. Now Faye.
As juicy as this drama is with the Ava business, I'm not gonna act like you've ever been in a solid position, romantically speaking, in this show. I can't pretend you're the badass bitch that you're posturing yourself to be, because history shows you have been that sad girl.
Sit around and wait for a guy to choose her. You spent 2 years planning the outfit you were gonna wear if Jake Armstrong ever came back to town.
On the off chance.
But Lee pulls her into a kiss. And this works. She kisses him back and seems fine with everything. She's like, that's more like it. And I was like, all right.
Okay.
Blackwell shows up to the fundraiser and finally confronts Dawn Chamberlain. Now, he walks into the hallway of the school. She actually sneaks up on him, but he quickly senses her and throws her up against the lockers. She's so excited. She's clearly still very down bad for him.
She's
like,
thrumming.
welcome home.
She's vibrating.
She's like, I knew you'd come looking for me sooner or later. And he's like, I'm not here for you, Dawn.
Hasn't even
and she's
mentioned
like,
her.
That might be more convincing if you didn't have me pinned up against the locker.
Dawn, please. Dawn, please, put it away.
She tells him he looks good for a dead man. And he's like, oh, you don't seem surprised to see me alive. And she's like, I never believed you'd perished. Your funeral was lovely, though. I wore red.
Girl.
She's such a delight.
Poor Mr. Chamberlain rolling in his grave, just like, damn. couldn't even believe for a second.
Whoever that was.
Right.
Miss Ma'am was like, I loved your son, as she murders her father-in-law.
Absolute bullshit.
But then she tries to enlist his help in getting her power back. I guess she's like, ugh, now that a real man is here, I don't have to deal with Charles anymore.
Who needs the bastard man Charles Meade?
She's like, remember what a powerful team we made back in the day? And he's like, no, I'm not interested. I've changed. I just want Ethan. And she's like, oh, what do you want with Ethan? And he forcefully asks her, have you seen Ethan? And she actually gets frightened and she's like, no. And then he leaves. So sorry for you, Dawn, if you thought, I don't know, you guys would have like in the hallway or something.
She was hoping. She forgot for a second she was a principal at a school, at an event, mind you.
She saw him and she went back to her 20-year-old self and was like, remember the good old days.
The good old days where maybe they hooked up. I couldn't read from John's energy if anything ever actually happened.
This polycule of a circle, I think they all hooked up with each other.
And I'd love to support that if it didn't cause so many goddamn problems.
So Cassie and Adam talk at the party and they make up. It's nice. Cassie apologizes and she's like, you know what? Your dad is a great guy and he's really been trying hard lately. And Adam's like, yeah, and your dad has also been trying and he deserves to have you hear him out. So I'm sorry. And I was like, oh, I like this. Later on, Dawn comes to Cassie and she's like, oh, by the way, your dad is here and he's looking for Ethan. Do with that what you will. She was definitely trying to stir up trouble.
I'm going back to my fundraiser, thank you.
Faye and Melissa are playing blackjack and using magic to cheat while Lee watches. Then Ava shows up.
Right. How she knew this was happening here at the school, don't know. I guess she followed him the whole way here.
She's like, what's going on here? And Lee's like, I confess, I have fallen for Faye, but I didn't know how to tell you the truth. And Ava's like, you know what? I understand, you know? You were lonely, I was comatose. She was just a coping mechanism. But now I'm back. And I love you, Lee. She's like, I know you and I love you. And I know you're better than this. Ooh. And then she leaves.
And you know what? Frankly, Ava, you would think he'd be better than dating some high school girl. But he is not.
Ethan Conant is seen exiting the party by us, the audience, with a knife in his hand.
Ethan, oh no. What are you doing?
As he leaves, Jake shows up and Melissa's like, hey, Jake, you want to like maybe buy some poker chips or something so it's less obvious you're just here for Cassie? Oh. And Jake is like, what? No. And then she says, I'm not going to tell you to move on like everyone's been telling me all season, but I am going to tell you that the truth is she's really into Adam. So, you know, just consider that.
She says really into him. Adam is not referenced to the conversation, but it is understood, which I find so funny. I don't know why. It just tickles me.
Who else could it be?
It's like, we all know what's the score here, Jake.
Grant comes back to Diana with a bunch of tickets he's won. And he's like, how much can I get with all this? Can I get one of those monkeys? And she's like, yeah, you have more than enough for a monkey. And he's like, cool, I'll get 2 and I'll give you 1.
No.
Matching monkeys are an ancient Australian custom or something like that. He's just making a joke.
As a white Australian.
Right, you're so exotic, Mr. Down Under. It's flirty and whatever. I guess it's cute.
You know, he's got dimples. It's fine. He doesn't need to be very impressive.
She keeps having love interests that last 1 episode and then disappear back into the ether. I'm like, why?
Can I give some forward knowledge? Very little.
I guess.
I think he comes back. I think he's not just in this episode, if I remember properly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. At least there's that. Cassie goes outside, following her dad, who's walking around, and just in time to see him get stabbed by an assailant.
This is so funny.
The man runs off.
I don't know why,
and she runs after him.
Running so fast in the background and doing something. He just runs and stabs and then kept running.
She runs after him and magically knocks him over, and it turns out it's Ethan Conant. And then she picks up some fallen over 2x4s and is, I guess, about to bludgeon him.
She switches on the floodlights of the football field that I guess is at the school that we've never seen. Mm-hmm. She breaks off a wooden post that was upright and hurls it at Ethan and scoops him at the leg. The man goes flying. And then she picks up that very same post to whack him after she realizes he was trying to kill her dad. It's so crazy. He turned around and was like, Cassie, it's me, your soon soon-to-be boyfriend's father. She said, I don't give no shit. And she was about to swing on a bitch.
Thankfully, John Blackwell, I guess, jogged after her even though he'd just been stabbed in the gut. And he's like, Cassie, no, don't do it. And he's able to snap her out of her reverie. And she decides to, I guess, not beat Ethan Conant to death.
He went flying. It's so bad.
Later on, Blackwell and Cassie speak back at her place as she's patching him up. And he says to her, I don't think Ethan was the traitor. He just attacked me tonight because he blames me for what happened to the circle back then. And Cassie's like, well, you were right about the dark magic corrupting me. You know, tonight I was feeling all like evil and didn't want to stop and I was afraid. And Blackwell's like, yeah, I think you need to like go full cold turkey with the magic to wean yourself off the dark stuff. Like no magic at all. And she's like, not even the good kind? And he says, no, see, the good magic, circle magic, you know, it comes from the energy around you. But dark magic is fueled by all of your own negative feelings like hatred and anger. And it's best if you just stop all of it altogether. And I was like, oh, that's
tough.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
He does say maybe at some point in the future you'll be able to differentiate the two, but not right now. And it's like, oh, what's the timeline on that, buddy?
You know,
hunters are on my ass right now. So right now is kind of when I need that magic.
And I'm like, as a circle member, does that mean she won't be allowed to like be a conduit for the other circle members' magic?
Guess not.
Like if she's there and she's the only other person, will the other members not be able to do magic? They'll be like, well, I can't do magic because Cassie's not allowed to use her.
She's cucumber on the dinner plate. Like everything will just end up tasting like cucumber and there's nothing we can do.
Later on, Grant and Diana are walking outside and Grant is like, I traveled the world. I went to South America, the very tip, went to Argentina, and then I was like, well, I gotta go to North America, and that's how I ended up here.
Wow.
And now I'm off again, but I promise I will be back soon. And I was like, okay, that's nice. Good for you, Diana, I guess.
Kiss your Australian boy, take me to, oh boy, Brisbane, I'd like to see Sydney, take me up to Perth and to the Outback as well. I really want to. So few Australian places I know.
The gas has leaked in.
Oh no, it's so late.
Lee goes home and finds Ava looking forlorn. And she's like, why would you even bring me back if you just want Faye? And he's like, no, like, I didn't mean for this to happen.
Just like
things got out of hand and I didn't know how to tell you. And then she's like, I love you. And if this is how it's going to be, you should have just left me in that coma. Then you just let me to rot. And he's like, no, don't say that. And she's like, no, I can't believe like after everything, you would leave me for some slut who doesn't even know what real love is. And I was like, damn, all right.
I'll have you know she's only slept with 2 people, Miss Ava. You don't know her at all.
And then Lee is like, you know what? I'm going to leave and we can maybe talk about this when you've calmed down. As he turns to go, she shuts the door telekinetically with witchy power of her own. And he's like, wait, you have magic?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, it was a pleasant surprise for me too. Guess she woke up with some power left over from Faye?
I get from the totem transfer.
I'm not sure.
I believe so.
And then Lee's like, okay, maybe I should just end things now. And she's like, no, Lee, because you told me you loved me and you said that we were going to grow old together. And you know what? I think we still will. And then she uses magic to shrivel him up and desiccate him.
I'd remembered that she got magic. I'd forgotten that the voodoo king Leela Beck bites the dust.
He turns gray like a TVD vampire that's been staked. I was like, oh no.
Oh, he gone.
Oh well.
Well, half of my problem solved, I'll tell you that much.
Can't believe Callum outlived you, but...
Crazy, right? Fully insane.
Ethan Conant is confronted by John Blackwell, who reveals that Ethan actually is the traitor from 16 years ago.
Disappointing.
And Ethan is like, no, I only wanted Eben to kill you, not the rest of the circle. And I'm like, you guys gotta stop trusting these witch hunters. They keep stabbing people in the back.
They notoriously like to come to your back, chloroform you, and slit your throat. Like, y'all should know this.
Ethan also reveals that he didn't betray Blackwell alone. Amelia also betrayed him, because apparently she wanted him gone just as much as Ethan did. And I was like,
interesting.
Right. And Blackwell is like, you know what? I'm willing to let all this slide because I do know that you're not the one working with the witch hunters right now. You have no magic, after all.
He says it with such shade too. He's like, you don't have any power to give them. It's like, oh, damn. Get your lick back, Mr. Blackwell.
He's like, I'm not going to rock the boat. I'm going to be the bigger person and let this all slide, not upset our kids by telling them what you did. And then Ethan is like, well, yeah, you know, me and Amelia were written in the stars until you ruined it. But now our children are written in the stars and Adam and Cassie are going to be together. And then Blackwell says, oh, honey, is that what you thought? You think the Connors and the Blakes are written in the stars? Actually, the Connors and the Blakes are connected by a curse. Ooh. And I was like, what?
This is the shit I live for. And also me slowly realizing a lot more of Bound was very much inspired by this show than I remembered. So that's fun.
Ethan is gagged. Ethan is a devout man who's just been told there's no God.
He just learned about the Crusades, actually.
He's like, what?
He's just going, are we the baddies? Rip.
He's a stan Twitter girly who's realized that his fave sucks.
Oh, shame. Club Chalamet right now watching the fall of Timmy Shimmy. Poor soul. Now, well, she's moved on to Connor's story is what I'm hearing, so that's a whole other situation.
Oh, gosh. But at the end of the episode, Cassie and Adam speak. And she's like, yeah, our dads were fighting and we got in the middle of it. Things got out of control. And Adam's like, to hell with it. Screw them. Our relationship is not going to be dictated by their drama. And they reaffirm their feelings for each other. And they decide they're not going to let their families or their fathers get in the way of their romance. And Cassie's like, no, I'm still scared that my power might hurt you. And Adam says, I'm not afraid of you. Ooh. And he tells Cassie that he loves her. And they start kissing and they sleep together for the first time.
Adam is the Elena. Adam's turning Cassie's face towards him, being like, I'm not afraid of
reheating
you.
Elena's nachos.
Adam Gilbert.
He said, actually, you're Stefan and I'm Elena. And I'm not scared of your vampire face. No. But cut to outside, a bunch of, I don't know if they're crows or ravens, but a flock of ominous blackbirds is circling the house.
4 and 20 blackbirds harbinging a curse, as the old song goes.
And I was like, oh, so much for written in the stars. We didn't even have to go that high. We're just like, we're in the lower stratosphere and a bunch of blackbirds are flying around.
Written in the velvety black night sky, in fact. New moon, little light.
Yeah. That's all for episode 16.
Yeah. These trips, we've been keeping the energy these last, I think post mid-season finale, it's been up and up. And I'm very pleased by that.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. What you suspected would happen did end up happening. The story made Lee way more sympathetic. But I guess he's dead now, so that doesn't matter.
Rip in Pepperoni's bozo. I never cared. To be done off with one of the white voodoo kings is a boon to me only.
Faye is back to, I guess, not having a love interest, but Diana's got a new one. Yep. So, it's nature. Two objects cannot occupy the same space. The circle only has so many slots for romantic pairings.
Melissa's taken a break from drug addiction to mammy everybody. She will be going back into drug addiction soon. Don't you worry. We'll never drop that storyline. God, no.
Oh, la da 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 da.
I miss Grandmama. I really need her back. I knew she was gone for a while, but this is longer than I even thought now. So I just need her to shake things up by coming back and being like, the light has returned. I cut through the darkness with the blade of truth.
I'd love to see what she thinks of John Blackwell.
Precisely.
Lover of her daughter, father of her grandbaby. It was a delight seeing Dawn interact with her old flame.
If Ethan... No confirmation. All we know is she was after him.
She claims they made a good team, and I'm like, in what capacity did you make a good team?
That's true.
I don't know.
That's true, because it could be magically, and it could be physically, Again, the polycule was polyculing.
It was also fun seeing Ethan see him for the first time. Like, oh no, the specter from my past.
Yeah.
The man who stole Amelia Blake from me.
Yeah, he was struggling this episode. And the reveal that he is fallible, he has done much wrong. I think it definitely makes him more interesting. He is the one, it seemed, the one parent on this show who was like, not just like blameless, but also so far from the center of things. And this ties him right in the center with all the other people in the circle to be like, no, he was in the mix, and actually he might have been the biggest mover and shaker of them all, because at least partly responsible for the slaughtering of the circle.
We'll discuss it in later episodes, I guess. But this whole, the written in the stars thing is actually a curse, and what that might mean. Because it's like, he's been telling himself, my struggles, my alcoholism, it's all because I didn't end up with Amelia. And it's like,
Well,
if it turns out that ending up with Amelia was actually the wrong thing, then you've been in this funk for 16 years for no reason.
well, I mean, it's seemingly with guilt, again, over the slaughtering of the circle. It's like, maybe that's what drove him to drink.
That's a fair point. We'll see what he makes of it going forward.
Yep.
But that is all from us here at Animal Tuck Pod. If you have any questions or thoughts, or if you know about this splitting eights and someone has a 10 that goes on in blackjack or poker or whatever they were playing, you can mail us at animalattackpod@gmail.com or tweet us at animattackpod. That's at ANIM Attack Pod. You'll find our link tree in our bio, which has all of our online stuff. But until next time, I'm Fadzai, and
I'm Sandile.
You're Sandile. And bye.
Cheers. We sign off now.